Imagine waking up in a devastated world, where every ruin tells the story of what was lost. Everything around you lies in pieces, deserted cities, threatening forests, and creatures emerging from the darkness. In this post-apocalyptic setting, surviving goes far beyond facing visible dangers. It's also about making choices that challenge your very humanity. Leaving someone behind, risking your life for scarce resources, or confronting moral dilemmas that test your limits. And it's these challenges that today's games recreate masterfully, bringing forth the tension, despair, and weight of every decision. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring daily content to ensure you don't miss any details from the gaming universe. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be very grateful. From one gamer to another. Kicking off the list, Dead Island 2 takes players straight to a post-apocalyptic California, where chaos and adrenaline are constant companions. Surviving isn't enough. The secret lies in improvisation, transforming the environment and everything you find into powerful weapons against hordes of zombies. The tropical yet desolate setting becomes a stage for creative and strategic combat, making every confrontation more visceral. The combat system offers a true dance between action and strategy. Instead of repetitive attacks, the game challenges players to explore their surroundings and use objects around them. With an open map rich in details, each new space, from beaches to mansions and shopping centers, provides different possibilities for improvisation and combat, making every playthrough intense and distinct from the last. With impressive graphics and mechanics that captivate from start to finish, the game offers an immersion worthy of cinematic scenes. This combination of freedom and constant danger brings the game to life, delivering an unforgettable experience from the very first moment. In second place, the Fallout series transports players to a post-apocalyptic world where every corner reveals a story of destruction and resilience. Humanity is divided between those who isolated themselves in shelters and those who faced the dangers of the surface, living amid power struggles and attempts at reconstruction. The atmosphere is unique, blending a sense of exploration with an irony that permeates every aspect of this devastated universe. Each visited scenario tells a part of this dark past, always leaving something to be discovered. The combat system combines shooting elements with strategic moments, where players must choose their moves with precision to survive. Instead of automatic attacks, players can target specific areas to weaken opponents, making each confrontation unique. This approach gives the action its own rhythm, requiring focus for every choice, which makes the combat especially engaging. Player choices truly shape the paths that unfold, influencing both alliances and the character's development. With a story full of twists and moments of reflection on what remains of humanity, this title offers a thought-provoking adventure that immerses players in the consequences of a dystopian future. In third place, Days Gone presents a survival journey in a hostile environment ravaged by infected creatures. Players find themselves in an open world filled with threats, where hordes of infected roam in masses, forcing a constant search for supplies and escape routes. The tension is nearly palpable, with each ruin and forest offering both opportunities and dangers, as terrain and weather conditions directly influence the pace of exploration. Combat is a central aspect, requiring adaptation to each new type of threat. The mechanics allow players to use everything from improvised weapons to traps in the environment, creating strategic possibilities as enemies approach. The tension escalates with the realization that, in addition to the infected, other survivors are ready to do whatever it takes to ensure their own safety. Every decision matters, and moments of action are balanced with the need to think carefully about how to utilize limited resources. The plot delves into the emotional side of survival, with dialogues revealing memories of better times and moral dilemmas that mark the journey. Along the way, bonds are formed and tested, as the protagonist faces questions that extend beyond mere existence amid chaos. It's a story of resilience and adaptation, placing players at the heart of difficult choices, imparting significant depth to every step taken in this post-apocalyptic universe. In fourth place, Horizon Forbidden West immerses players in a post-apocalyptic version of Earth where nature and technology blend in breathtaking landscapes. Among the ruins of a lost civilization and colossal mechanical creatures, exploring the vast territory is an adventure in itself. Each environment, from deserts to tropical forests and snowy mountains, holds unique secrets and challenges that test survival skills, requiring a good dose of attention and strategy to unveil what lies behind each danger. The combat mechanics stand out for their complexity and varied use of weapons and tactics. Instead of conventional attacks, the adventure involves studying the weak points of creatures and using the surrounding environment, such as foliage for camouflage or specific items to gain an advantage. This strategic element and the diversity of battles make each confrontation interesting and filled with possibilities, creating a constant tension between players and encounter challenges. Beyond action, the narrative explores profound themes regarding humanity's legacy and the consequences of our choices. Richly detailed dialogues and memorable characters bring new layers to the journey, while ancient mysteries are gradually unveiled, adding even more intensity to the plot. Every step reveals a complex and engaging story that masterfully connects the past with the present, leaving players immersed in a fascinating world full of surprises. In fifth place, Metro Exodus challenges players to explore a territory devastated by radiation, where survival hinges on quick strategies and a good dose of courage. Set in a post-apocalyptic Russia, traversing dark tunnels and desolate areas brings a constant sense of risk, where every movement requires caution. The landscapes, from harsh winters to treacherous forests, reflect the weight of a world where nature and civilization are at odds, creating an atmosphere of unbroken suspense. The combat system combines intense shootouts with stealth, allowing for different approaches to each situation. Instead of rushing into attack, the experience encourages evaluating the terrain and enemies before acting, using handcrafted weapons and limited resources intelligently. This creates a dynamic where preparation is essential, as players may have to face mutant creatures or hostile groups at any moment. Each confrontation demands precision, attention, and often the courage to adapt quickly. The story carries a dark tone, gradually revealing secrets and difficult choices as the protagonist seeks a new beginning amid despair. Dialogues with survivors and unexpected encounters showcase the consequences of a ruined world, and every decision brings to light the dilemma between saving what remains or simply staying alive. In sixth place, Deadlight presents a dark world where survival is tested in a platforming environment with a comic book aesthetic. In this devastated universe, players navigate abandoned cities and dark sewers while facing obstacles and solving puzzles to escape hostile creatures. The setting brings a constant tension, with visuals that combine shadows and striking contrasts, creating an oppressive and intriguing atmosphere. The movement system, reminiscent of classic platformers, requires precision in every jump and interaction. Instead of a direct combat approach, players are encouraged to dodge and hide, making the most of the environment to survive, while the scarcity of resources demands quick and well-thought-out decisions to avoid falling into environmental traps. The narrative touches on themes of loss and resilience, revealing a character who faces personal challenges while trying to navigate the devastated city. With each new scenario, small hints about the past emerge, adding depth and making the journey more than just a fight for survival. In seventh place, Mad Max perfectly recreates the struggle for survival and the desolate despair seen in the films, transporting players to an unforgiving desert where every resource counts. In this harsh and brutal environment, ruins and desolate roads serve as the backdrop for intense battles between factions vying for what remains of the world. The atmosphere is laden with tension, featuring devastated landscapes that capture the essence of a completely destroyed setting, evoking a nearly palpable sense of solitude. Action is split between hand-to-hand combat and vehicular fights that are nothing short of brutal. Customizing the car and adapting it to different threats becomes essential, as each confrontation requires quick thinking and a touch of aggression. High-speed battles and risky maneuvers reinforce the constant sense of vulnerability, where survival depends as much on combat skills as on strategic navigation of the terrain. The narrative immerses players in an intense quest for revenge and redemption, where the despair of the landscape reflects in the characters and their encounters along the way. The scarcity of resources like fuel brings a brutal urgency, creating moments that test the limits of physical and emotional endurance. With scenarios that capture solitude and characters that reveal human decay, the game serves as a faithful portrait of the brutality of a world where every choice could be the last. In 8th place, Dying Light 2 challenges players to survive in a city infested with dangerous creatures, where action and vertical exploration turn every location into an unpredictable battlefield. Players are encouraged to move quickly, scaling walls and leaping between rooftops to escape dangers that intensify with the fall of night. Combat features a mix of improvised weapons and acrobatic skills, making encounters intense and often requiring quick thinking. The game places players in situations where survival is not always the only goal, exploring moral dilemmas and complex alliances. This devastated urban setting, filled with nuances and consequences, transforms every moment into a struggle not just against enemies, but also against the challenges of a post-apocalyptic world where trust and resources are scarce. Next, we have Rage 2, which places players in a vibrant and chaotic post-apocalyptic setting, where intense colors and eccentric characters create an explosive contrast with the brutality of the environment. In this vast, open world, action never stops, with fierce territorial disputes and a varied, unpredictable cast of enemies. In a territory dominated by chaos and anarchy, players embark on a journey marked by explosions and confrontations that test the limits of sanity. Combat stands out for being fast and brutal, featuring high-tech weapons and special abilities that can turn the tide of any confrontation. The intensity of the gunfights, combined with the freedom to use combat vehicles, transforms every encounter into a spectacle of destruction and adrenaline. Players are encouraged to explore deeply, using the environment to their advantage while demolishing everything that stands in their way. Each advance reveals areas filled with dangers and opportunities, ensuring an electrifying pace. The narrative centers on a fight against authoritarian factions while the protagonist seeks to bring some control to this lawless world. Along the way, memorable characters emerge, bringing both assistance and unexpected challenges. Amid a landscape where chaos is the only constant, the game explores the desire to reclaim power in an environment where survival requires mastery of all available resources, from the first to the last shot fired. In 10th place, we have State of Decay 2, which invites players to build and manage a community amidst an apocalypse. Here, survival depends not only on combat skills, but also on the ability to gather essential resources and forge alliances. With an open world filled with surprises and constant risks, every decision impacts the well-being of the group and determines who will move forward. The threat of sudden enemy attacks and the pressure of caring for all members make attention to detail crucial. Managing each resource with precision is vital, as a mistake at any moment could put the entire community at risk. More than just fighting, the narrative delves into the complex relationships among survivors, showing how the extreme environment affects human dynamics. Internal conflicts arise, along with bonds of friendship and rivalry, creating an atmosphere of tension and camaraderie. This approach highlights the struggle to rebuild a life amid chaos, where survival demands both resilience and a good dose of intelligence. In 11th place, The Last of Us stands out for its emotional depth in a devastated world, where each setting bears the marks of civilization's downfall. Players traverse ruined cities, dense forests, and dangerous areas, facing threats in a cruel and relentless environment. The detailed and realistic atmosphere makes each location feel like it has its own story, enhancing the weight of the journey and providing a constant sense of tension. Combat blends stealth tactics with direct attacks, encouraging players to evaluate each situation before acting. Utilizing improvised resources and exploring the terrain for tools that can make a difference in a fight is essential. The scarcity of ammunition and supplies demands careful planning, making each confrontation more intense and meaningful. This focus on strategy and survival creates a unique dynamic where any misstep can be fatal. The narrative goes beyond the challenges of a post-apocalyptic world, exploring themes of trust, loss, and sacrifice. The story places players before moral dilemmas while revealing the complex relationships between characters. Amid the devastation, moments of hope arise, questioning the limits of survival and making the journey profoundly impactful for those who venture into this universe. In 12th place, Remnant 2 invites players to explore a dark world where fantasy and apocalypse collide. With settings that blend the ruins of lost civilizations and creatures from other dimensions, the game challenges players with an unpredictable environment full of surprises. Each territory demands heightened attention, as dangers are always lurking, creating a sense that the next step may reveal both an enemy and an ancient secret. Combat is fast-paced and intense, combining firearms and mystical abilities that must be used with precision. Facing enemies that range from fierce monsters to otherworldly beings requires adaptability, as each adversary has its own weaknesses and attack patterns. This dynamic encourages players to master different strategies and explore the skills acquired throughout their journey, resulting in battles marked by complexity and a frenetic pace. The plot unfolds in a universe filled with mysteries and legends that reveal themselves as players progress. Each encounter and discovery provides a fragment of the history of this devastated world, fueling suspense and curiosity. As players delve into ruins and unknown caves, they are constantly challenged to uncover the secrets that remain and understand what truly led to this desolate and unsettling scenario. In 13th place, Sunset Overdrive offers a irreverent take on the apocalypse, with vibrant settings and completely unconventional action. Set in a chaotic, colorful city, players traverse streets, rooftops, and urban structures with impressive freedom. This extravagant atmosphere contrasts sharply with the dangers lurking around every corner, creating a world as chaotic as it is exciting. Movement is fast and fluid, allowing players to slide along rails, jump between buildings, and execute acrobatic maneuvers while combating hordes of mutant creatures. The weapons are as eccentric as the city, featuring improvised and creative devices that turn every confrontation into a visual spectacle. This unique combat style encourages players to stay in constant motion, taking advantage of the verticality of the environment and the diversity of attacks to overcome challenges. The story, with its acidic humor, explores the transformation of a modern metropolis into a true post-apocalyptic amusement park. Charismatic characters and dialogues filled with sarcasm reinforce the irreverent tone of the adventure, making it clear that in this universe, chaos can be as entertaining as it is dangerous. With an approach that defies traditional standards, the game presents a unique and contagious vision of the end of the world. In 14th place, Stranding breaks the mold of post-apocalyptic games where the struggle for survival is the main focus. Instead, it places players in the role of a courier in a devastated world, where the main mission is to reconnect isolated people and communities. The traversal becomes the greatest challenge, with treacherous landscapes demanding strategy and endurance. Steep mountains, turbulent rivers, and unpredictable weather make every step a triumph, reinforcing the feelings of isolation and purpose in a world that has unraveled. The movement mechanics are unusual and meticulous, requiring players to organize and balance their load to avoid falls or losses along the way. Instead of confronting hordes of enemies, the challenge lies in the natural elements and the invisible forces manifesting in the environment. This system creates a different kind of tension, where progress relies more on patience and care than on brute strength, shifting the focus to resilience amid desolation. The story delves into themes of isolation and reconnection, exploring the impact of the player's actions in uniting a fragmented society. Solitary characters, deep dialogues, and moments of reflection reveal how human connections can endure even amid collapse. In this scenario, each delivery and reunion not only helps restructure the world, but also demonstrates how hope can be reborn amid despair. In 15th place, this War of Mine places players in a unique perspective within a post-apocalyptic scenario, moving away from the typical armed heroes and epic battles. Survival is tough and intense, where controlling a group of civilians in a besieged city means making difficult decisions at every moment. In a desolate environment filled with rubble and scarce resources, the goal is to survive each day while facing ethical dilemmas and choices that test human limits. The gameplay mechanics challenge players to manage resources carefully, exploring dangerous areas to acquire food, medicine, and essential materials. Venturing out in search of these items means risking the lives of the group, while staying in the shelter could lead to hunger and illness. With rising tension, every movement becomes a matter of life or death, highlighting the most fragile and vulnerable side of survival in wartime. Instead of grand action scenes, the game explores the internal and emotional struggles of civilians, creating an intense connection with every choice made. This humanized approach emphasizes the cost of war in a setting where survival is not just about strength, but about sacrifice and humanity. In 16th place, Stellar Blade transports players to a dark, futuristic setting where they face threats on a planet devastated by mysterious forces. With stunning visuals that blend technology and destruction, each environment challenges players with powerful enemies and darkly detailed scenarios. The sense of immersion is strong, as the world seems on the brink of collapse, filled with ruins and remnants of a forgotten civilization. Action is intense and focuses on melee combat, requiring precise movements and rhythm. Rather than simplified fights, each confrontation becomes a test of skill, where defense and counterattacks are as crucial as direct attacks. Each encountered enemy presents a unique attack pattern, making it essential to observe and adapt quickly, keeping players in a constant state of alertness. The plot explores the struggle to restore a nearly destroyed world, immersing players in a narrative about sacrifice and hope. Enigmatic dialogues and mysterious figures gradually reveal the mystery behind the forces threatening the planet. This journey places players at the center of a battle where the future hinges on every decision, in a story filled with revelations and imminent dangers. In 17th place, The Walking Dead immerses players in a world where survival is just the beginning. In this dark environment, every choice you make can decide the fate of those around you. As you traverse ruined cities and face threats at every corner, it's impossible to ignore the weight of accumulating decisions, transforming every step into a struggle between the instinct to protect and harsh reality. Here, each interaction carries a special tension. You'll find yourself forming alliances with people who are often as unpredictable as the external dangers. Instead of frenetic fights, the challenge lies in maintaining fragile relationships and facing dilemmas that require quick and difficult responses. This approach completely changes the pace, forcing you to weigh every word and gesture, knowing that everything can crumble in an instant. As events unfold, the lines between right and wrong begin to blur, and every decision seems to react against you. In a world where a single mistake can be fatal, the the struggle goes far beyond visible dangers. Every moment of doubt, every necessary sacrifice creates an intimate connection between you and the fate of the survivors around you, making it clear that amidst chaos, even the simplest choices carry brutal weight. In 18th place, Metro Exodus launches players on a journey through a devastated Russia, where life unfolds among the ruins of a irradiated world. Each metro station, desolate forest, and forgotten village seems to tell a story of survival and loss. As players progress, the landscape changes dramatically, from frozen tundras to arid deserts, challenging you to adapt every step to the extreme conditions that arise. Combat requires both precision and strategy. It's not enough to simply attack. Every move must be planned with the little that remains in the inventory. With scarce resources, every bullet and piece of equipment becomes precious, and finding supplies is always a race against time and against merciless enemies. The environments are full of threats, but also of opportunities for those who observe every detail before acting. In this journey between hope and constant fear, the weight of choices and the brutality of the environment test the strength and determination of anyone daring to press forward, while the world around them makes it clear that only the most adaptable have a chance of survival. In 19th place, Stray places players in the shoes of a lonely cat in a forgotten city inhabited by robots and filled with mysteries. With the natural agility of a cat, you scale rooftops, hide in small gaps, and escape constant dangers, moving with the freedom and care that only a feline possesses. Exploration is nuanced and demands attention to the smallest details. Instead of facing enemies directly, the challenge lies in navigating complex areas and uncovering unexpected paths. You leap between buildings, find hiding spots, and interact with the environment in authentic ways, like scratching doors or knocking over objects. Each explored corner can reveal both a valuable clue and a safe haven, transforming every space into something unique and relevant. In the silence of the streets and in the company of robots, the environment tells a story of times past. You embark on a journey that blends curiosity and caution, where each discovery brings you closer to the end of this mission in a place as desolate as it is fascinating. In 20th place, The Last of Us Pt2 places you in an even darker world, where the scars of the apocalypse deeply shape every character and environment. The narrative is charged with tension, and with each new scenario, players feel the weight of a universe devastated by conflict and loss. As you walk through dense forests and ruined cities, the world around you transforms into a true emotional battleground, reflecting the consequences of past decisions. The combat mechanics are intense and visceral, demanding both stealth and brute strength. Scarce resources make every choice even more critical, and the environment, filled with hiding spots and natural traps, forces players to think and react quickly, making each confrontation unique and unpredictable. The story unfolds with rare emotional depth, prompting players to question the limits of revenge and humanity in a crumbling world. Each interaction reveals more of the emotional scars of the characters, and the feelings of loss and distrust permeate every dialogue and decision. It's a journey that goes beyond physical survival, exploring how chaos and the quest for justice can transform even the deepest bonds. And I want to know, which of these games have you had the chance to play? Was there any game missing from the list that you think should be here? And which of these post-apocalyptic worlds do you think would be the hardest to survive in? Tell me in the comments. I think the hardest would be the one in Days Gone, because everything wants to kill you in that world, from infected beings to survivors. Even animals are after a piece of you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue discovering more amazing games and facing new challenges. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. I'm leaving a card with a list of new releases that promise to dominate 2025. Just click to watch. A big hug, and see you tomorrow.